Hi, this is Christian Cantrell, and I wanted to show you something I've been experimenting with along with some friends of mine around the idea of using a mobile device as a desktop computer. So what I have here is a Galaxy Nexus. It's running Android 4.02. It's a stock device, stock Android phone. It's not rooted, it's not hacked in any way. I have a micro USB MHL HDMI cable here connecting it to my display, and I have power going into the side here so that it doesn't kill my phone's battery as I'm using it. I have a Magic Trackpad, I believe it's called. It's an Apple Bluetooth multi-touch trackpad, and I have a Bluetooth keyboard. They both connect very nicely to the phone. You can also use a mouse. I decided to use a trackpad because I thought that would sort of capture the experience of using the phone a little bit better. But you can use a mouse, you can use a USB keyboard, you can use any number of peripherals or devices to use your phone like this. But this is sort of what I had lying around and what I thought would make a good experiment. So this is my my Galaxy Nexus home screen here, and I can use the gestures that I'm accustomed to using even on my Mac to swipe back and forth. So you can see I'm doing two-finger swiping here, and I'm going to my different home screens. This is a widget here, and I can scroll up and down through the widget, and then I can scroll to the side here. I can do things like I can tap and hold to drag, just like you're accustomed to on various devices. If I'm in a region like this and I do tap and hold, then it's going to actually scroll the whole screen, so that's nice and fluid. I can bring down my notification shade here. That works nicely. I can do things like open up folders and then use escape to dismiss them. So this all works really nice. It's very intuitive, very fluid. Having a keyboard hooked up to your phone, just having a keyboard hooked up is a big win for things like texting or for typing, long emails or whatever. So I'm going to open up this Note application and do a little typing. So this is what it's like to type using a keyboard on a mobile phone. And I'll do something like I'll misspell phone here so that the spell checker picks it up, draws a red line under it, I tap on it and choose phone. So pretty standard experience. I mean, this is sort of what you'd expect on a desktop. Works really well. I can type as fast as I want, everything keeps up. I can do things like I can do control and move back and forth through the sentence like this. If I hold down shift, I can select, and I can even use control A to select all. So pretty much what you'd expect from a desktop experience. Works really nicely. I'll go back to the home screen here. Something else I discovered is if you hold down Command and you double tap on Tab, you get this application switching interface here, which is really nice. Also something similar to what you expect to see on a Mac or a Windows machine. So this makes it really nice and convenient to switch back and forth between applications. I'm not going to show you email. I should say that I'm going to be very careful about the kinds of applications I demo. I'm only going to show a few things. The reason being that mobile phones obviously have a lot of very private information on them, and so I need to be careful what I show you. So I will go ahead and go over to the browser, and we'll take a look at this. This is google.com, and you can see that I can scroll up and down as you'd expect using gestures. And I'll go to Reddit, and you can see I have a good experience here. I can scroll up and down, and it looks pretty much like it would look on the desktop. I'm not going to click on anything. I don't want to take a chance on pulling up something that might not be safe for work, but you can see I can also do things like pinch and zoom in order to increase my font size and stuff like that. So it all works pretty well. If I want to do something like listen to music, I have Google Music going here, so I'll move over to Google Music and I'll bring up something like this. And I have it connected to external speakers with an audio cable, so you can see I get pretty good sound. And since I can get full multitasking here, I'll switch over to something like Google Currents. So while I'm listening to music, I can read some news, and I'll just browse some photos with 500px. So you can see this works nicely. Right? And then I can exit up to the main menu here, and then something like this, where I'll pause the music and dismiss my notifications. So I've only shown a few things here. I haven't gone into a lot of depth, but you can imagine, the email application works really well. Gmail works great. I've sent a few emails. I've opened Google Talk. I've chatted, a little bit. You can use this task switching interface in order to move back and forth between applications really nicely. Again, I'm not giving a full demonstration here simply because I have to be careful about what I open. So, for instance, I'm not going to give a demonstration of Google Wallet or something like that. But it's very functional, surprisingly functional. And this, I don't feel like this is a use case that is really sort of widely supported, yet it works really well. So if you think about if Google or Apple or Microsoft really try to support these kinds of use cases, how good the experience would be. So the question in my mind is, what's the next step in computing, or what's the future of computing? Are we going to keep moving in the direction we're moving in now, where we have most of our data in the cloud that we can access from any number of computers, like I have now? I have computers upstairs, I have computers at the office, computers all around the house. All my data is in the cloud, so I can sit down at any one of those machines and I can be productive very quickly. And that model is working very well for me right now. That's the model that we're sort of moving to now with a lot of the cloud services. Another interesting model, though, is one in which your computer is just in your pocket all the time. So you go to the office and you sit down and you dock your phone and you have a full keyboard and mouse or whatever else you need, a printer, and all your peripherals. And you can work as you do very much today, and then undock it, go home, and do the same thing. I think that we're not quite there yet with the hardware. I can get pretty far here, and I'm pretty happy with this experience. I mean, I think this is a surprisingly good experience. I'm surprised at how much I've been able to do. I think we're maybe a generation or two away from this really being a great experience, something that you'd not just do to see if you could do it, not just experiment with, but actually like doing, actually enjoy the experience. In order to get there, I think that we need, a slightly faster processor maybe, although this has been pretty good. Capacity is not an issue because all your data is in the cloud. You can see when I go over to Google Music here, you can see I have access to move over here. I have access to gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs, of course, of music. This music's not here. This music's going to all stream. This is just recent stuff. So lots and lots of music here. So capacity is not going to be an issue. Your data can still live in the cloud. So put a couple of more cores in these phones, which is inevitable. Put a little bit more RAM in there. And the important thing is, will these operating systems actually go in the direction of supporting this kind of computing? And if they do, I think it's completely doable. I'm surprised at how far I've been able to get with this, with just components I had lying around, a couple of cables. I paid maybe $20 for these cables, and I have a pretty good experience here. So anyways, if this is something you're interested in, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to know if you think this is the right model for computing. If not, what is the right model? Have you tried this yourself? What's your experience? So let me know what you think. Thanks. Hi, this is Christian Cantrell, and this is part 2 of my video on using an Android device as a desktop replacement. I did a video a few days ago, and it got a lot of responses, a lot of questions and comments, so I decided to do a follow-up video and address as much of the feedback as I can. This one's going to have a lot more details. I'm going to show lots more applications and a lot more user interaction, so hopefully this will be of use to you. One of the biggest requests I got after doing the last video was for some additional detail around the cables that I used. All the cables are listed on my blog. You can go to www.livingdigitally.net for some additional details, but I'll just go over them really quickly again here. First and foremost, the primary cable I'm using is a micro USB to HDMI MHL adapter. And from here, obviously, I'm using an HDMI cable. People ask me about audio, you can run audio from this as well. If your monitor has speakers, or if you are connecting to something like a receiver that has audio that has speakers, you can do audio through this adapter. If you're going to do that, make sure that you get a HDMI cable that supports audio. Apparently there are some cables out there, some cheap ones that don't support audio, so that's something to watch out for. And also it has a micro USB power cord on the side here, so that keeps everything powered. It also keeps your phone charged, which is important. I do not have speakers in my monitor, and I don't have, I'm not plugging into a receiver or something like that. So I'm just using a standard 3.5 millimeter audio cable that's plugged into the phone's audio jack, and it's going to a little audio hub here, and that works fine. So that's that setup. This here is a micro USB host cable. So I have micro USB on this end and standard USB on this end. This is the cable you want to use if you want to connect your corded USB mouse or keyboard to your phone. You can plug your mouse or keyboard directly into this. You plug this into your phone and plug your mouse or your keyboard into this, but you're only going to get one peripheral that way. So what you're probably going to want to do is run this to a powered USB hub, make sure it's powered, and then that way you can connect your mouse and your keyboard at the same time. Now, before you rush out and buy one of these cables, the thing to keep in mind is if you're going that route, then you're not going to be able to display to an external monitor like I'm doing here. You only have one micro USB port on your phone here, and so if you use it for the OTG, this is also called an OTG cable, if you use it for this cable, you're not going to be able to run HDMI to your display. At least I don't know of a way to do both simultaneously. I think you can only do one at a time. So that's why I'm using Bluetooth peripherals. I'm using a Bluetooth mouse and a Bluetooth keyboard, and the display out. I'm reserving the port for the display out. So you're gonna have to choose whether you want to do which one you want to do. I would recommend probably if you want to have this kind of setup, get yourself some Bluetooth peripherals and get yourself this cable and go HDMI to your display. For part 2 of the video, I decided to try a Bluetooth mouse rather than a trackpad. So for the first part, I used a multi-touch Apple Magic trackpad, and I thought that would be ideal to sort of emulate the multi-touch screen of the phone. This time I decided to use a mouse. This is a Magic Mouse, a Bluetooth Magic Mouse, and I actually think that I like this a little bit better. I'm using gestures here to move around, move through my home screens, and this is how you can scroll through your application icons, which work really well. And I have this pointer here. Somebody asked me if I use special software to get the pointer, and the answer is no, I don't have to. I get this for free. So I think I actually prefer the mouse. The gestures work really, really nicely. Something else that I want to mention are these soft keys here. So I think this started with Honeycomb, if I'm not mistaken. With Honeycomb, when I first got my first Honeycomb tablet, I got a Zoom, and they started putting the buttons in software as opposed to hardware buttons. And that's a really nice update to the operating system because it allows, or at least it better facilitates scenarios like this where you want to be able to click on virtual buttons here. If these were physical buttons on the phone, like on my Droid X, which was my last Android phone, obviously I wouldn't be able to click on them, so physical buttons would be a disadvantage. The other advantage of these buttons is that they can move, they can sort of rotate with orientation, they can sort of be rendered dynamically, so if you don't have anything in your menu, they can go away. The menu can come and go as it needs to. So this is actually a really nice addition. I mentioned in the first video that you can use the escape key to dismiss folders here. I should have gone into a little bit more detail. The escape key is actually the back button. So you don't just have to use it for closing folders, but if you're in the browser or something like that and you hit back, hit the escape key, it's actually your back button. So that's really nice. The other thing that I mentioned in the last video is if you hit Command and then you hit Tab twice, it brings up this application switching interface. And so let me go into Google Reader here. So that is the case. As someone pointed out to me, which I didn't realize, so I appreciate, if you hit the Option key and you hit Tab, then you only have to hit the Tab key once. So you can either hit Command and hit Tab twice, or you can hit the Option key, or sorry, the Alt or the Option key. And then you just have to hit Tab once, and that works a little bit better. So there you go. The other thing I wanted to point out here is that you can change your pointing device's sensitivity, which is really, really nice. So I'm just going into my settings here, going into language and input, and then I'm going to scroll down to pointer speed, and I can now adjust my pointer speed. This works with a trackpad or with a mouse. The first time you connect a Bluetooth device here, or USB or Bluetooth pointing device, you'll probably find it's far too sensitive, and you're going to want to adjust it. So that's how you do it, and works great. Another question I got from several people was about the gaming experience with a configuration like this, which I thought was a really good question. I think that if you're looking for something to augment or to replace a PC, you really have to look at gaming pretty critically, since gaming is an important part of a lot of people's PC experience. So I'm not a big casual gamer, really. I don't usually install a lot of games on my devices. I prefer PC gaming or console gaming. But I have a few games. I play games occasionally, so I decided to download a couple and give it a try. So I downloaded GTA 3 and Angry Birds, and I figured that would give me a good sort of complete picture of the gaming experience with a setup like this. The first thing I tried was connecting my PS3 controller to my phone via Bluetooth, and although the phone was able to see the controller, they were not actually able to pair. So I guess Sony uses Bluetooth, but I think that they use their own protocol on top of Bluetooth or something like that, so I wasn't actually able to get it to pair. I did then, I was able to get the controller to work via USB, however, so I plugged the PS3 controller into the phone via USB, and it worked really, really well. It worked perfectly, actually. So I was able to play GTA 3 with the PS3 controller, and it was awesome. The problem was that I was not able to play on the screen, of course, because I was plugging the controller into the micro USB port. And so I was actually using this cable here. So then I was not able to display video on my monitor. So that was an interesting experience, or an experiment, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. The next thing I tried was this controller. This is a sort of a generic Bluetooth controller that I bought from GameStop. And I was able to get it to pair with the phone, took a couple of tries, but I finally got it to work. And tried playing GTA 3. It kind of worked. The problem I ran into was that this left thumbstick here, only a few of the directions worked, the left didn't work. So I found that I had to use the D-pad mostly, and these buttons were not intuitive. I wasn't getting very far, it was pretty frustrating, so I decided to quit. Turns out I searched online, and the controller just does not work well with GTA 3. Nobody had much luck with it, so I decided to see what the experience would be like just using a mouse and keyboard to play Grand Theft Auto, and it turns out the experience was pretty good. So let me give you a quick look at Grand Theft Auto here. So I've already started it here. Actually, to save a little bit of time, so I don't have to load up the intro and everything. I'm gonna start a new game here. I can just go through the menu here using the direction keys, and I'll start a new game. So it takes a second to load. And here we go. Here's the intro. I'm going to skip through it just to save a little bit of time here.
I don't play for the edge of the red light district where we can lay low, but my hands are all messed up, so you better drive, brother.
Alright, so you can use WAS and D keys to move around. You can use your the number keys here to get in and out of cars. I found the direction keys are actually the easiest way to drive. Alright, so you use 4 to get out of the car and run around. You can use 2 to fight people. So I'll pick a fight here. And I'm not going to beat up a woman. That would be extreme. Alright, no one wants to fight me, so I'll just get back in the car. this guy. Here we go.
I swear I thought she was my second cousin. I gotta go on vacation. I swear.
There we go. Get a little money. And get back in the car. Alright. So there's GTA. Really good experience there, actually. You could really play that game for hours, and it feels very much like the experience used to feel on the PC or the console. The other game I downloaded to try was Angry Birds. Somebody was curious about how a game that was obviously designed for a touch interface would work with a mouse and a keyboard, and it works fine. You just use the mouse instead of using touch. And I'm not a big Angry Birds fan myself, really, but you know, it's alright, it's kind of fun. So, there we go. And more bird. So, works fine with the mouse. So if you're an Angry Birds fan, you're all set. So there's gaming. You can get creative with controllers. Definitely search online to see what people have had luck with before you go out and spend money. But I've had pretty good luck with just the keyboard and the mouse so far. So I think that in terms of gaming, this is a relatively solid setup. Something else people were curious about was the ability to get the desktop version of websites using mobile browsers, which is a really good question because when you have all this additional screen real estate, you don't necessarily want to be stuck with the mobile version of websites all the time. So I looked into it a little bit. I've been using Chrome for Android since it came out. I'm a big Chrome fan. I use it on all my computers. It's a really good browser, and I really like the mobile version as well. The only issue with the mobile version so far is that there doesn't seem to be a way to configure your user agent. So there is a comprehensive set of developer tools here, as you can see, but no way to configure your user agent. The user agent is a string that gets sent along with the request, which identifies your browser, and that's what sites typically use to key off of to figure out whether they should forward you to the desktop version of the site or the mobile version of the site. So as far as I know, there is no way to change your user agent in the mobile version of Chrome. That will probably come soon. So with Chrome, you're mostly probably going to get mobile versions of websites. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Chrome to be updated, there is something else you can do. This is just the standard browser application, not Chrome. And if I go to New York Times here, I'm just going to go to www.newyorktimes.com. And you can see that I've been redirected to mobile.newyorktimes.com. And this is the mobile version of the site. Now what I can do is come in here and select Request Desktop Site. And it's going to make the request again and change my user agent into something that looks to the server like a desktop. So I now have the desktop version of the website, and I can do things like I can double click and it zooms. And this is a pretty good experience. I mean, this looks a lot like a desktop computer at this point. So you can get sort of the browsing experience that you're more accustomed to. If you're going to try and use a mobile device as a desktop replacement, you're going to need conveniences like copy and paste, which is something that several people ask me about. So copy and paste does work fairly well in Android using the keyboard. What I'll do is I'll go to this Notes application and I'll select some text here. And I'm just going to Control-C to copy it. And somebody else also asked me about word processing, so I'm also going to show you Google Docs on here. This is a document that I imported, and it renders pretty well. The fonts are nice, it's nice and readable. The editing doesn't work quite so well in a document like this, but if you have new documents, editing works a lot better. So importing is a little tricky, but creating new documents is not so bad. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new document here. So let me back out of this and go to the menu here and click New and New Document. I'm going to say this is a test doc, and I'm going to use the keyboard here to create the new document. Just takes it a second here. And here's a new document. So I'm going to click here and hit Control B, and you can see that I'm able to paste. So give it a little bit of space and paste. So copy and paste using the keyboard works pretty well. Another question I got was about the instant messaging experience with a configuration like this. People obviously instant message all the time, all day. I know I use it pretty frequently, so people want to know what it was like to use instant messaging with a setup like this, because instant messaging is sort of the ultimate multitasking type experience. So we're able to send messages, move to other applications, get replies, go back to the app, say something, and move around in a really fluid manner. So yeah, I think it works pretty well. I'll give you a quick demonstration. So I'll use Google Talk here, and so here are some friends I have online. Let's see, I'll bother James here. So I'm going to send him an IM, and then I'm immediately going to switch over to Chrome, and this is 500 pixels. So I'll just be browsing some photos here, and hopefully I'll get a response from him. Maybe I should ping a few people just to be sure. Hopefully he's not dissing me. Okay, there we go. So here's my here's my response here. So I can do two things. I can either pull down the shade here and navigate that way, or I can just use the task switching interface to move back over. So why isn't that working? Oops. For some reason the task switching is not working right now. I wonder, okay, there we go. I don't know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There we go, so I just moved back over, taking care of some running things. How are things? Things are good. I'm doing a video. I hope you don't mind. And then I'll switch over to Currents and browse Fast Company or something like that. And hopefully I'll get a response again in a minute. So there we go, get a response, go back over to Talk. So James is a big watch collector, it's about watches, I'm asking him about watches. I'll move over to, I don't know, Angry Birds. That's a little bit too loud and obnoxious, but you get the idea. So I have the notifications coming in here at the top, and I can either switch using the notification shade, or I can switch using the multitasking interface here, and it works pretty well. You can also switch between. This is something that's pretty interesting. So I'll be like, hey, what's up? Say something here, and then James says something to me here. And I can move over to James here using I can just drag and move over here, and so it all works pretty well. Pretty decent multitasking interface for instant messaging. Okay, so video is another really important thing that we do on our PCs. I mean, I know that I rely on my devices and my computers, all my devices for video. So a lot of people were asking me what the video experience was like, and so I thought I'd show it to you. This is something that's pretty important to me because I don't have cable. I try and get video in any other way besides paying a cable company. So I rely very heavily on Netflix. Actually, Netflix is one of my favorite services out there. I watch almost all of the TV that I watch on Netflix. So I thought I would show you what the Netflix experience is like. It's not as good as it could be, to be honest, in this configuration. First thing you'll notice is that it's going to go into a portrait mode even though we are on the landscape display. And so that's suboptimal. So you can see that there's not a lot I can do here. Moving the mouse coordinates are rotated by 90 degrees, so it's like impossible to navigate. You have to turn your mouse like this to navigate. So it's not great. Let me pick something here. And I'll just play this episode. Oh, it's hard. Yeah, we'll play this episode. Now, the good thing is, once you actually start playing something, the video rotates and it's in proper landscape mode. And so you can you can watch video at this point and it's a decent experience. What's weird is that you actually don't have any controls on the screen. So even if I click, I don't have any controls. The controls all appear on the phone. So you can see that you use the phone to pause and play, which is kind of strange. So if you're going to watch video in this kind of a configuration, you're going to need to be able to keep the device within reach so that you can control the video. Although I think that, yeah, so I can do escape. Escape or the back button essentially will work and I can jump out of the video. But if you want to be able to pause and play, you're going to have to keep the phone around. But the experience isn't bad once you get the video playing. But hopefully there'll be a new version of Netflix come out that will support landscape mode properly. And that will make the video experience a lot better. The last question I want to answer is what this device is that I use to hold my headphones. And the people who guessed that it was a banana holder, you are right. I call it a banana noose, and it's a great way to hold your headphones. So one day I was trying to organize my desk and looking for something to do with my headphones because the cords were always in the way, and I was up in the kitchen, saw this there, ate a whole bunch of bananas so that it was not being used, and appropriated it for my desk. So the banana noose makes a great headphone holder. So that's all I have to show you in part 2 of the Android as a desktop video. If you have any more questions, if you want to see any more demos, let me know. If necessary, I'll do a part 3. Otherwise, I'll answer questions either on my blog, which is again livingdigitally.net, or else just post questions or comments in the YouTube video, and I'll do my best to answer them there. Thanks for watching.